used cars purchased at auctions and acquired from vehicle trade-ins are steadily becoming older model units with higher mileage and in need of more reconditioning. With retail prices falling, there's less room for added expense and more urgency to get them front row retail ready. In 15 minutes, Mike Weber shares takeaways from FVL NA 2024. And at the half hour, our ATI panel will discuss how car dealers can improve efficiencies to get the older used car units sold faster. So join the live chat, say hello, make new friends, and learn from the best on ATI Auto Business. What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business, automotive ecosystem, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Let's get started with top industry headlines that include What Do Brokers Do? By Skip Kavanaugh. We're going to go through some of that. Age of used cars keeps climbing, and OEMs thinking like a 3D printer. At the quarter hour, we got Mike Weber with takeaways from Finished Vehicle Logistics North America 2024. That was just last week. And at the half hour, Dealer Logistics Recon Retail panel. We got a pretty good sized panel tonight, so please do, if you get the chance, click share, copy. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, LinkedIn, for saying hello, whether you're live or on demand. This is show 348 in a row on a Tuesday. It is the automotive ecosystem on ATI, and I feel the need for speed. The urgency is there. The dealers really need those cars, and they're probably going to tell you why, and we're going to talk about why. And I just want to say, I'm sorry, Keith cannot join us tonight. He had a personal emergency and is unable to make it tonight. We still have a great panel in lieu of, and in fact, Mike Weber is going to take the feature segment. Mike is with Hylant, and he was at Finished Vehicle Logistics last week. He's going to talk to us more about some of the takeaways, and in fact, it's Mike's first time on ATI. Now, the need for speed, in this AI rendering, you've got the reconditioning happening in the showroom, which is pretty cool, because that's almost where we're at. We've got Alain Nana-Sinkam. He is with us. He is with AIM, the COO of. He was here on a show called Used Car Factory. We've got Jim Horan with us. Jim was here on a show about auto retail consignment. And Skip Kavanaugh is with us. Not only did he just release a LinkedIn post about what brokers do, but he also joins from time to time, and we talk about marketing and carriers and brokers and the industry. Victor Oneshuck is with us tonight. This is his first time on ATI. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Shout out to Victor. He is with Beverly Logistics Group, and we're glad to have Victor with us. David Ray Jr. is going to be joining the show tonight. You've seen David on, and I've made YouTube shorts featuring David talking about AI and software. Sky Hallman was going to try to join. He is unable. He is actually on vacation, but shout out Sky and One Auction View. Enjoy the time off. Know your ecosystem. I always talk about it. OEM dealer auction, logistics, remarketing, recon, compliance, and tech. And because tech is such a big deal, such a big part of the audience, thank you, tech, the AI takeover is happening on Tuesday nights on ATI. We had a show last Tuesday night, What is RunBot AI? I thought it was a really informative show, and we learned a lot about RunBot. So shout out to Patrick for a great job there, head of data science at RunBuggy. And in fact, released a short that's doing pretty well. And also shout out RunBuggy for sharing a recap of the show. Great use of ATI information and, I don't know, 25 years experience making videos. Industry Logistics is my Thursday show, and we're going to, well, last week we talked about finished vehicle logistics. Hey, can I get into hauling new cars if I go to finished vehicle logistics? I asked the question. Interesting conversation. And I'm not sure if we figured that out, but we talked about it, which I don't think gets talked about. In fact, it seems like there's still a lot of associations that, I don't know. If you speculate live, it's taboo, but we did it anyways. It's ATI. You know a lot of the companies. Let's talk about it. So we did, and if you want some takeaways, go into that show. You can find it on the ATI homepage. And we talked about finished vehicle logistics and Auto Haulers Association of America. Why not? Both are heavy into finished vehicle logistics, and it's time to go ahead and talk about whether or not you can make inroads. All right, let's do some of this. Let's do some news. Oh, good. We're only 6 minutes in. I'll try to keep it moving. So, get ready for new AI-powered PCs. In fact, PCs, you know, that sounds old, right? What about mobile devices and just brain connections? Microsoft kicked things off on May 20th with unveiling of Copilot and PCs. These window machines are designed from the ground up for AI that's true at both hardware and software level. The machines are powered by new high-performance chips called Neural Processing Units, there it is, NPUs, leveraging both the latest LLMs through Microsoft Azure and the company's powerful small language models, SLMs, that run locally on the device. Okay, new anagram there, acronym, SLM. The standout feature on these new PCs is Recall, an AI-powered feature that tracks and stores everything you see and do on your computer. Oh, good. According to Microsoft, this data is kept entirely on your device for your privacy. But it does raise important questions, you think, about the trade-offs we're willing to make for AI-powered convenience. Am I going to allow my computer to take screenshots of everything I'm doing every 5 seconds? As an employee, if we go over to the corporate side of this, you're not going to have the choice. I'm guessing this is something IT is going to turn on or not. For individual users uncomfortable with the feature, you may miss out on some important AI benefits. For employees, you may not have a choice to end up being recorded all the time. Great. Which led me to, all right, fine. I'm going to go ahead and think out of the box for a second. Some scientists seriously believe we could live forever by the 2030s. Stay with me here. The longevity escape velocity theory. Now, we're going to apply this theory to older used models later in the show. Eternal youth seekers, on vehicles and investors alike, are getting increasingly excited about a concept called longevity escape velocity, LEV. The basic physics principle which states an object can, at a certain speed, defy gravity's pull and live indefinitely. If only science can figure out how to cash it in. Again, LEV. There'll be a quiz later. So what do brokers do anyways? Well, Skip asked the question and he wrote about it. In summation, why do we need brokers anyways? Well, what about lead acquisition, digital marketing, generate leads, partnerships, receive referrals, networking with potential clients and partners? What about lead qualification, initial contact with the customer? Phone calls, emails, chat, needs assessment, gather information about the customer, provide quotes, provide pricing, booking and scheduling, reservation management, route planning, considering distance, traffic, logistical constraints, schedule coordinating with the carriers, transport companies, customers, hair appointments, logistics management, selecting the carrier, getting the right carrier, reliable carrier, monitoring the track and progress of the transaction, issue resolution, what to do if you run into logistical challenges or delays or disputes. What about customer service, communication, maintaining communication with the customer, answering the phone over and over and over and over, support, providing assistance and guidance to the customers. This is what you need to do. This is what you can't do. No, you can't do that. You need to do this. Post-service follow-up. What'd you do? How did it go? Providing feedback after the completion. What about billing and payment? Invoicing, generating invoices. What about processing the payment? Accepting forms of payment. What about disputes in payment? Settling carrier payments to the right carrier, to the driver, taking care of recording the revenue and the financial reporting and the statements and tracking the company's performance. I mean, according to the FMCSA, most auto transport carriers have less than 4 trucks, and the burden of all of that would probably make most carriers unprofitable in a fairly short amount of time. Good job, Skip. That was pretty cool. That was really cool. And in fact, Thursday, 2 days from now, we're going to be talking about broker do's and don'ts. I mean, they're going to do or don't do what they don't do or do anyways, but what do carriers wish they did or didn't do, even though they're going to do it anyways? Also, in good sign for service departments, age of vehicle population hits an all-time high. That's right. In recent years, several automakers have expanded the age eligibility limits for vehicles in their certified pre-owned programs, because that's the way it is. Dealers are improving the customer experience in the service department too. At 12.6 years, the average age of vehicles in the U.S. in 2024 is at an all-time high. The population of vehicles in the 6 to 14-year-old group, the sweet spot for vehicle service, is expected to continue to climb, with more than 110 million vehicles in that sweet spot of 6 to 14 years, reflecting nearly 38% of the fleet on the road. We expect continued growth in the volume of vehicles in that age range to estimate 40% through 2028. In January of 2024, there were 286 million vehicles in operation in the U.S., 2 million more than a year ago. Less than 90 million of those 286 million are younger than 6 years old. You getting that? You taking notes? Good. Here's a graph. The average age of light vehicles. Now, this is cars. The light blue line is cars. Cars, there are more older unit cars than there are trucks. Thus the purpose of the graph. The cost of vehicle repairs has increased by almost 50% since the start of the pandemic. So if you look here, we're going to see this. Check out this. You see 2022. In mid-2022, trends began to change. In fact, in mid-2022, the cost of vehicle repairs began to separate from the average cost of repairs in other industry verticals and devices. Modern cars equipped with heaps of electronic devices, in fact, many of which are designed to reduce the frequency and severity of accidents, have a catch. A high cost of repairing the systems mean the vehicle is written off or totaled following a crash. More than 1/5 of vehicles are now declared a write-off by insurers. More than 1/5 are written off as a loss. Wow. Rather than repaired. That's how much it's gone up. Average vehicle trade-in age has gotten back to normal, actually. Again, another trend. So 2019 to 2024, we are almost back to normal on the age of a trade-in. Again, look at that. 2022, mid-2022, we didn't even notice. But that was it. Or maybe we did. 15% growth in late model vehicle sales at auctions now. Older models everywhere. And mixed with more affordability at the auctions. Lower wholesale, lower retail prices. In fact, here, hybrid and EV sales at physical auctions. Look at this. Again, mid-2022. Hybrid and EV climbing on price of sale and dropped back down almost to 2019 prices. Hybrid and EV sales prices. Availability of affordable used cars grows in Q1 2024. And there it is again. Mid-2022 is when we see the trend change. And we've got two things happening here. We've got our average transaction price which is just above 25. And average days to turn, obviously a very important number. We're also seeing inventory levels of new units and days supply at the highest levels. There it is again, 2022, and here it is 2 years later. We've got Stellantis, wow, has 150 days supply of new units. Ford has 100 days supply. That's pretty high. Auto manufacturers are creeping back toward bad habits they swore off only a few years ago. As inventories of EV increase, incentive packages are well above industry average in many cases, exceeding 15 to 20% of average transaction prices. In fact, here we go. Incentives are up year over year. There it is again, mid-2022. You had 2019. Wow, look at those incentives and crash. Now they're headed back up. New vehicle incentives are up from May 2023, but still below pre-pandemic levels. And supply chain is on fire. How automakers and suppliers are grappling with changing logistics, higher labor costs, tariffs, EV sales uncertainty, rethink how and where they make their products. Since the beginning of the pandemic 4 years ago, supply chain rattled by geopolitical pressures, logistics issues, labor, part shortages. Stay with me because number one, they say worker shortages. Sounds just like driver shortages, which is going to be confusing. We got to dive into that. What do you mean, really worker shortages? This is leading many companies to look for more factory automation. Some would say, well, is it which one came first, the automation or the egg, or the worker shortage? The rise of automation is going to be a major trend the rest of the decade. No kidding. As automakers and suppliers look to keep costs down, especially as they seek to sell more EVs, there is a misnomer about how much labor it will take to build a battery electric vehicle. The challenges to launch this new technology and product will probably require more people. Oh, maybe there's the shortage. Tesla pulls back on advanced manufacturing and shift to AI and autonomous driving. Tesla has been an industry leader in pioneering manufacturing practices, but that might be changing as Elon Musk moves in a new direction. Electric vehicle maker plans to be in retreat on key parts of its manufacturing plans after suffering a rare sales decline. It's probably 1%. You know what I'm saying. Really, we should be thought of as an AI or robotics company, Musk said on an earnings call. Promised to launch the $25,000 vehicle. If you value Tesla as just an auto company, that's wrong. Musk said that Tesla's AI-powered humanoid robot, Optimus, there we go, will become its most important product eventually. Optimus will be more valuable than everything else combined. Because if you got a sentient humanoid robot that is able to navigate reality and do tasks at request, there's no meaningful limit to the size of the economy. I said. Although the Cybertruck fell short of some of Tesla's goals, such as the exoskeleton and original pricing estimates, it delivered on others, including manufacturing innovations. The Cybertruck has large front and rear castings and uses stainless steel exterior panels that don't require stamping or paint. I am saying, I know there's something about the Cybertruck that he definitely got right. Nissan follows Tesla in adopting EV cost-slashing Gigacasting. Nissan thinks it can cut the cost of EV components by 10% and shed weight by 20% by gigacasting large aluminum parts. Japan's number 3 car maker wants to cut the cost of EV parts by 10% and weight by 20%. Nissan joins a growing roster of automakers turning to gigacasting. What is that? Nissan plans to use the massive giga presses to form the rear underbody of its new EVs. The module consists of as many as 100 parts that can be combined into one thorough aluminum casting in a heavy-duty press. Wow. Forming large modules out of one gigacast component saves time, weight, and money. Additionally, it can make the vehicle more structurally rigid and improve safety. Yeah, go ahead and try to recondition that gigacast. 3D printing is on the mind. BYD unveils new hybrid powertrain with ultra-long range. The upgrade means some of BYD's dual-mode plug-in EV hybrids can manage the equivalent of New York to Miami on a full charge or full tank. A new hybrid powertrain that's capable of allowing a vehicle to travel more than, oh my gosh, that's 1,200 miles without charging or refueling. It's a hybrid. The milestone marks BYD's latest achievements in slashing fuel consumption. Wow. For every 2 hybrids sold in China, 1 is BYD. Wow. Leverage ATI in your business. We're talking about all the verticals. Why? Because they're all mixed up now. It's all one big vertical in automotive. Contact us, ATI Auto Business. Get the podcast. Tell us now how we can help. Know your ecosystem. Do me a favor, stick around. Right after this, we're going to bring in Mike Weber. We're going to talk about finished vehicle logistics. We'll be right back.
The evolution of transportation. In the beginning of car shipping, there were stone tablets and woolly mammoths, very primitive vehicle delivery. Then, horse-powered haulers with mile-long paper BOLs causing enormous time hassle and massive stacks of paperwork for dealers, shippers, and carriers. What were we thinking? But now, with modern technology and cell phone mobile apps, simply click a button, order quick, reliable auto transport to pick up and deliver your cars safely and on time. It's instant car shipping at the best market rate. Start saving money today and get signed up. Visit oneauctionview.com.
Are you completely stressed out from all the calls and the contracts and the verifications of loads where nobody ever answers the phone? Call Murphy Auto Dispatch Services today. Murphy Auto Dispatch Services has over 15 years in the transport industry. We are your office while you are on the road. We book, we verify, and we bill out your loads for you. We have an excellent accounting staff and an even better dispatch team. Give us a call today at 417-273-0021, or if you want to email me, it's murphyautotransport31@yahoo.com. Give us a call today.
Need help shipping a car or keeping a carrier loaded? Murphy Auto Transport Services is a fully licensed broker and offers professional dispatch services. Visit murphyautotransportservices.com. All right, here we go. Please do help me wish a very warm welcome to our feature guest tonight. Mike Weber is with Hylant. Mike, can you see me and hear me okay?
Yes, I can, sir. It's good to meet you.
It's good to meet you. Thanks for, you literally, I mean, I've seen you on LinkedIn, and I asked you today. I said, hey, listen, I've got an open feature segment slot. You want to come on and talk about finished vehicle logistics because of LinkedIn, because of social media. I saw that you were at FVL, and why don't you take it away? Tell us more about you, and you can just jump right into FVL or however you want to do it.
Yeah, and I appreciate the invite. I was just writing up my my takeaway thoughts from the conference, so didn't expect to turn into this, but I'm excited to, like I said, to meet you and share some insights. So, and share some insights from the finished vehicle logistics conference that was last week. So, so real quick, I don't want to take up too much time, but for anyone who's unfamiliar with Hylant, it's not Hyland. We don't wear kilts, just in case anyone's wondering. Everyone keeps thinking that. We're one of the largest family-owned insurance brokers in the country. And within the Hylant transportation practice, we have a team that's dedicated to auto haulers. We literally call it nothing but auto haulers. That's the entire existence of this team. And as a 12-year professional in transportation myself, I started as a freight broker and moved on to the area executive role for Yellow Roadway. I manage a large portion of the outreach for the team to auto haulers who are looking for help. And so for over a decade, we've been partnered with one of the largest auto haulers / brokers in the country. and are a founding member of the National Vehicle Transporters Alliance, which wouldn't surprise me if many of your viewers have at least heard that term before. NVTA is what we usually refer to it as. So through that program, we've created proprietary cargo and liability programs we utilize to ensure car haulers, brokers around the country. We're rolling out some new products in the near future, including a dually wedge insurance program and an auto hauler captive group captive. So yeah, we bring our decades of experience to making sure that auto haulers are properly taken care of. It's not something we can do; it's something we do. This is our stake in the ground about what we're great at. So, but to your point about the Finished Vehicle Logistics Conference, so as the name implies, it is about finished vehicles, OEM vehicles specifically. And if anyone's looking for where to find that freight, I can refer you to quite a few brokers who move this stuff day in and day out. So if you're looking for some help with finding it, I can point you in the right directions. Or you can come join me next year at the conference because all the OEMs are there, and you can definitely talk to their logistical teams about securing some contracts. So this is an event dedicated to all the stakeholders with the international and domestic transport of autos. So they do have a Europe version, so that deals with over there. So basically, anything that brings autos into the country or domestically produces them and transports them throughout the country, that's what this conference is all about. So the purpose of the conference was created to attract logistical teams for their many transportation partners and prospective partners to engage with. So this can be anyone from asset-based motor carriers, brokers, ocean liners, port authorities, processing companies. I saw a couple of Recon / vehicle damage companies like DRS, who does hail damage, the companies, and many more. So it's great opportunities for companies to, especially motor carriers, I would say, as the ones who are going to get the greatest ROI out of this, in my opinion, to improve or create relationships with the OEMs and generate new freight opportunities. I had breakfast with one fleet owner, a great gentleman. I hope to talk with him more here soon. And he mentioned how he used to have a relationship with a particular OEM, and some things out of his control disrupted that relationship. And they had the opportunity to reconnect with that same head of their logistics a few years later at this conference to repair that relationship and get it started. Seemed like that hit off really well at the breakout session we all happened to be at, and so I hope that does well for them. But that's the kind of opportunities you get by coming to this, because again, with OEMs are massive organizations. I mean, tens of thousands of people, and it's kind of a black box, really, when you're reaching out to them. It's hard to find the right person, hard to get connected to that person. And maybe this is me, maybe I'm a little old school in my mindset, but there's nothing like, shaking someone's hand, look them in the eye, and know that that's a person you want to have a conversation with and potentially build a relationship with. So, and that's a lot of what you get out of this conference at the end of the day. And, again, we're so heavily dedicated to auto hauling. I enjoyed it because a lot of these were either clients of mine or, people I've engaged with over the years that, it wasn't the right fit at the time, but, we've engaged with anyways, and finally got to, again, look, shake their hand, look them in the eyes, like, hey, I appreciate that we've been working with you. I appreciate that conversation we had. So it was great. As far as insights,
I'm giving you an applause. That was amazing.
Well,
you can keep,
thank you.
Listen, we're going to keep talking for a minute, but I mean, that was what I was looking for. You just laid out, first of all, you talked about Hylant, which, again, you just told me something I didn't know, which is, okay, so, and I'm going to say, somebody in the live chat said, wait a minute, did he just say wedge insurance? Did you, right?
Yes,
Small
about
owner-operator
about 2.5 months ago, the guys with the F350s with the 2-3-car wedge on the back. Yes, we have about a 2.5-month-old program for that. We've been insuring them for mixed fleets for a while, but about 2.5 months ago, we retooled that program to insure them straight as a standalone. So, because we get requests. Oh, geez, I probably get 12 requests a week from guys with that type of equipment to insure them. And for the longest time, that's been a monopoly of Progressive. And Progressive figured that out. They started raising their rates, and frankly, their coverage forms are horrible in the first place. So I avoid them like the plague if I can. Yeah, so we said, hey, this is not okay. It's not okay to have a monopoly on a certain segment of the market. Let's fix that. So we have our program. Now, it won't do newer authorities, but if you're running a good business and you've been at it for a few years, we have an alternative for those types of operations. Absolutely.
Well, all right. We need to talk more about my Thursday show, which is focused on owner-operators. And I can't tell you how many people come in. It was just maybe last week's show where folks are talking about the cost of insurance, mentioning some insurance companies that they really, wanted to do some competitive pricing on. So we've got that we need to talk about. Also,
happy to come back.
Yeah, NVTA. I haven't caught up with Jason Walker and crew in years, so I'd love to. Right? Because you know Jason? Is he one of your contacts?
Jason is one of the guys in our standing Thursday meeting, so I'll be talking with him this Thursday. I was actually disappointed because I met Mark and Lou for the first time at the conference last week. They were behind me at the clubhouse for the golf outing, of which I proved I'm a terrible golfer. I was looking for Jason because that's the main guy I know, but I couldn't find him throughout the entire of the conference. So I'll have to make sure he's still alive on Thursday when we have our meeting.
Perfect. And say hello for Jay at ATI. All right,
Will
so
do.
we've got that. So that's number 2 that we can talk about. And then finished vehicle logistics. I do want to ask this. Have you been there before?
No, this is our first rodeo.
Time. Okay. You played golf.
Yep.
Right?
Supposedly.
You're right, allegedly. Okay.
I lost balls. That's what I really did.
Great. Perfect. And did you see that as like as a networking opportunity?
Yes.
You did, right?
There is a trade show element to it. In all reality, it is very much a networking event. That is the entire purpose of the event, and that's why I enjoyed it, because I set up meeting times with clients and potential fleets going into the event, and then at the event, again, I met a lot of people I've engaged with over the years. Never, either didn't work out or never got a chance to truly connect. And just standing around happening upon those conversations, you find these people that, again, you finally get to shake hands and say, hey, I like talking with you. So absolutely. It's very much a networking event.
And finished vehicle logistics, as we mentioned before, this is a pretty professional event.
Yes.
Can be somewhat intimidating. I mean, it's a global audience.
Yeah.
In fact,
you'll get people from all over the world.
That's right. And you might, in fact, one of the interesting barriers is that at a normal trade show, you just might be intimidated to talk to somebody. At finished vehicle logistics, you might be intimidated to talk to somebody, and then you go ahead and try to talk to them, and you realize they've got a completely different background.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Right? And then now you're really drinking from the fire hose. That's what I found, right? But that's actually one of the wonderful things about that trade show conference circuit. So that was a great recap, and now I know that we need to talk again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep you on for the panel. Do you want to stay on for the panel?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to dealers, logistics, recon, retail. And we're mostly talking about used vehicles. So do me a favor, stick around, be right back with the panel. You don't want to miss it.
AuctionVCommerce is the universal support solution to help brick-and-mortar auctions respond to the needs of digital buyers and sellers with greater efficiency, accountability, and more access. AuctionVCommerce is a bridge between the dealers of the past and the auction of the future.
Transport Auto Quoter is by far the leading auto quoting software on the market, and the only auto quoter with a pro version that comes preset with accurate pricing for anywhere in the US, so you don't have to worry about it. The best part is that no change with your current software is needed. Just plug TAQ in and start booking jobs. Carriers can easily plug TAQ into their current websites and start making money right away. I bet you're wondering how we do this instantly and accurately 24/7. Well, constant analytics is the key. Our Price Watch team is constantly monitoring current market conditions, paying close attention to seasonal and quick-moving industry changes. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of time and data to maintain good pricing, time that most of us just don't have on a daily basis. So free yourself up. Using TAQ Pro is really a no-brainer. Save time and money, maximizing your leads and optimizing your online investments. You'll finally be able to sleep well at night knowing that TAQ is on the job selling for you 24/7. Never missing a potential job.
Don't lose any more sleep worrying about missing leads. Get Transport Auto Quoter. Quote the right price the first time, every time. Run your business with TAQ. Visit transportautoquoter.com. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's see what happens. We have a panel. Mike is staying on. Jim, I see you in here first on my screen. Please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. So, Jay, I'm going to hold you to your word. This is my third time on the show. Yeah, like you said something about a jacket at number 5 or something.
Right, a jacket.
Like
thanks
the
for having me
SNL
back.
Five Timers Club.
Yeah, right.
That is
I'll give you my
great
jacket size
idea.
later.
I like this idea.
Yeah. I am a licensed Texas dealer. I'm the owner of Affordable Auto Broker since 2013 in Fort Worth, Texas. And since 2018, I'm also the CEO and a founder of Retail My Ride, which is a consignment sourcing platform. We covered that last month on your show and got a lot of good attention on that. So thank you again for that as well. And just here to participate as a panelist and give you my feedback and answers, and we'll see if they're the right ones.
All right, Jim, it's great to have you back. Thank you so much. Alan, please say hello and tell us a little bit more.
I'm still indexing on this jacket thing that I just came up.
Oh no, what have I
Yeah.
got myself into?
Exactly. I'll send you my sizing information and we can handle
Yes,
this
please do. Yes, please.
offline.
Yeah. Great.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alain Nana-Sinkam. I'm the COO of AIM. We are a used car factory about 45 minutes outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. We do large-scale reconditioning of used vehicles and distribute them to dealerships in the surrounding region.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alan. And all right, Victor, you're ready. Camera 1, please do help me wish. Long time listener, first time caller, live on ATI, Victor Oneshuck. Victor, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Yeah, as Jay said, my name's Victor. I own and operate auto shipping brokerage firm, Beverly Logistics Group, out of the Central Coast of California. And I'm really excited to chat with everybody and see how you're going to lead this discussion, Jay, and what we can get ourselves into tonight.
Right. All right. Well, good. We'll check. So we've got and David. So David Ray Jr. He's going to be a few minutes late, and we'll harass him for that one. But we've got, all right, Jim, dealer inventory, Alan, reconditioning, used vehicles, man of many trades, and Victor, logistics professional. So, do we have, I said dealer, logistics, recon, retail. Do we have the retail piece covered? The tension mounts. We have dealer. Yeah.
I've got the retail here.
Right,
for
you got retail. All right, perfect. Ding. All right, good. Okay, so did you see in the news that I had all the statistics about the age of vehicles going up? Did you already know all that?
We talked about it.
Right, we talked about it. There we go.
We talked. There's so many things that are driving it. Chief among them, consumers that are priced out of the retail market are making the conscious decision to keep their cars long. It's not their first choice. but they feel compelled to make that choice. And that's one of the factors that's driving the aging of the fleet for certain.
Okay, so Victor in logistics. Now, in logistics, by the way, what's Beverly Logistics Group?
It's an auto shipping brokerage firm, Beverly, named it after my grandmother, Beverly. Got to keep it in the family. And then that's it, just working with the carriers, moving cars, working on building accounts, typical.
All right, in your years of experience working with dealers to move used vehicles that they've acquired from auction, has that been much of your book of business?
No, the
No.
majority of the dealerships that I've worked with have been new cars, and it's either dealer trades or it's when they sell a new vehicle to somebody out of the area. That's what I've typically moved.
Okay. All right. We'll keep dealer trades in mind as we move forward on this. Because what we do know, though, we probably don't have to guess very far to know that as soon as you pick up the dealer's car for transport, he or she wants to know, where is it? Why isn't it here? And I'm assuming that problem's only getting worse.
That's for sure. One of the ways for me that I gain accounts and retain them is keeping them updated on that. Whereabouts is it's something everybody wants to know. Whatever side of the move or the transport you're part of, everybody wants to know where their vehicle is.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple to update them with that, but a lot of companies don't do it. It takes a lot of time, a lot of labor, but it's important.
Do your partners, Victor, have to play an increased role when they hand the vehicle over to the consumer in terms of how CSI is affected by going over the car and making sure the end consumer gets a proper delivery? Are they being asked to take more of that on?
No. It's pretty much still the simple thing. I mean, the only thing that's really changed is how super dispatch and digital BOLs really have taken on a role. And so there's a lot more photos and stuff, when there's a claim or any kind of dispute, of course, that comes in handy. Let me see a video. Let me see a picture. But yeah, most of the stuff that I'm dealing with, the brand new cars, there's not really any blemishes on them. And it's most of the time pretty smooth. Most of the time.
It's interesting. The freight tracking was actually an entire seminar at the Finished Vehicle Logistics Conference, because like you talked about, I used to be a freight broker, so I'm with you that it can be cumbersome and labor and time consuming, tedious to track and update clients constantly about where freight is, and that's I don't know if so much is going to affect the used side, the remarketed side, but definitely on the finished vehicle side, the OEM side, they are looking for ways to more automate that process, so that, to your point, it is not so time consuming and can be done more efficiently. So I'd be curious though if that also applies to your point about dealer to end consumer, if they sell it further away and it's being transported. I don't know if it would apply in that circumstance, but at least port or manufacturer to dealership, that is something they're looking to improve upon going forward to improve that visibility.
I got a question for Alan. I want to go back to something Victor said. Alan, do you know Super Dispatch?
Mm-hmm.
You do. You're familiar with that system?
Yes.
How did that happen? How did you get familiar with Super Dispatch? I always wonder how people right outside of transportation, how they came to know these technologies.
I spent a lot of time on the automotive conference circuit, and if you go to enough of them, you eventually touch different parts of this ecosystem. So spending a lot of time at conferences like Used Car Week or National Independent Auto Dealers Association, you spend time in the exhibit hall, which I think is always important to understand what's happening in the industry and what problems are people looking to solve. That's generally been my interface with those types of vendors.
I'm going to move over to Mike. Mike, who did you see in the expo hall at Finished Vehicle Logistics that gave you a chance to learn more of what they were about?
Oh man, you had a lot of large brokers there, or sorry, large motor carriers there. You had brokers too. RPM, which is a client of ours. AutoSled, which is a new startup. I don't know a whole lot about them. Assertus was certainly there, and I think I know Cox Automotive was in attendance. I don't think they had a booth set up, but there were some large motor carriers there in attendance as well that I was unfamiliar with. CRC, SDM, Professional Fleet. There's a lot of motor carriers set up. DRS, like talked about the hail damage repair company. So that was a lot of the booths set up, and then like I said, I want to say at least half the attendees were on the motor carrier side, and the other half were a mix of brokers, port authorities, processing companies, OEMs, and people of that nature.
Anybody have a follow-up question for Mike about Finished Vehicle Logistics?
It's more expensive than the other ones, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it is. Okay. All right. So, let's go back to digital auctions and distance of transport then for units. You're saving money by looking across the country and comparing and finding the cheapest one that you can get, or the best deal, the lowest rate. What about that distance to transport it? Is that a problem?
I would say that the biggest challenge that we've encountered in the digital space is the inability, as compared to the physical space, is the inability to get that financial benefit of combining shipping. And you buy 8 cars on the digital platform, there are 8 cars from 8 different sellers in 8 different locations, and your ability to try and get any efficiency of scale is very limited, contrasted with being able to go to a sale, buying those same 8 cars, and knowing that you can arrange for transport in a much more efficient way. So there's pros and cons to each channel, but that's one of the things that you give up.
So are there proposed solutions to this problem?
Can you expound on that a little more and help me understand? In the first one where you said via the digital space, when you purchase the vehicles, they're all at different. It's not you're not just purchasing them from one auction site.
Well, even if you're purchasing them from one auction site, one of the promise of the digital space was that for the dealer, the selling dealer, you don't have to transport this car to some central location in order to have all of these vehicles auctioned. You can sell it in place, and there's efficiency to be gained from that. The challenge that it creates, though, is now I bought those 8 cars. They're at 8 different dealerships or 8 different entities, and to arrange for transportation to bring them all to our factory in Oxford requires 8 different arrangements, as opposed to going to a centralized location and being able to.
Right. Yeah. So then, yeah, you can't get the benefit of getting them on the same truck with one origin, one destination, which thus makes it less expensive to transport it.
Yeah. Now, to answer your question, Jay, I'm really curious to see what lessons we can take from a company like Amazon in their ability to. It's amazing. I saw a video of one of their warehouses, and the thing that struck me until I thought about it was that the way they place the products in their fulfillment warehouses is not, they don't put all the toys over here and all the cereal over here and all of the things in different sections. They understand that when I buy a roll of paper towels, I also buy deodorant and I also buy some third product. So those products are all in the same area, so that when the pickers go to put the box together, they're not having to go all the way around the warehouse in order to grab each disparate item and put it in the box to ship it out. This is, next level intelligence and interpretation of what they're doing that enables them to do that. But the end result is I order this has happened to everybody. You order something in the morning, and then you go, oh man, I forgot, I got to order that other thing. And you order it in the evening, and then the two things show up in the same box. And you're like, how did they do that? And it is this level of coordination that, as an industry, if we can aspire to that and move at least a little bit in that direction, it would be a real big step function for us.
I'm curious with the smaller, like you said, if you get 8 cars from 8 different sellers, are they geographically in the same space, or are they scattered across the country?
They're in the same space. If you look at our equation for acquisition, it's not unlike what Jim is doing or anybody in this space. You're weighing what you can pay for something with how much you got to pay to go and get it. So as a result, we limit our auction acquisition to no more than 250 miles away from
Gotcha.
our factory in Oxford. But one of them could be 200 miles that way, and the other one could be 150 in the other direction. So there is still some inefficiency that gets created.
Since they're smaller orders, do you find that they're picked up by smaller trucks typically? So like your dualies with 2-3 car wedges.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I know there's some effort to try and create some efficiency there, but it's always an uphill battle compared to the physical standard that has always been much easier.
I'm curious, has that created issues? Because I'm thinking back to the conference, and they discussed how a greater majority of the damages the OEMs see are with dually operators. Do you see that with more dually operators opting to strike? I'm not trying to beat them up. I have a number of clients who operate good dually fleets. I'm not trying to beat them up. I'm just talking general statistics, which is, as an insurance guy, what I kind of have to do. But do you see that compared to years ago when you, like you said, you went to an auction site, you bought 8 cars, you hired a transporter with a stinger, and he moved all 8 cars at once, versus the guy with a wedge moves 2 cars at once or 1 car? Do you see do you see a greater frequency of damages with the smaller equipment that might offset that, I guess, digital revolution, for lack of a better way to put it?
Yeah, I don't know that the sample size is large enough to draw a conclusion about it. But what is absolutely clear is that the cycle time of shaking that car down and identifying everything about it has to be much more accelerated, because trying to coordinate that transport, and the clock is ticking the whole time in order to be able to lay hands on it, confirm what you've got, because you haven't been able to walk around it beforehand. That becomes a really important component of it.
I just wrote down inventory psychology, which led me to think tribal logistics. So I saw a video recently about, again, I think we're all fascinated by the speed of a pit crew. And what goes in to shave any millisecond possible is done. So whoever thinks and stays up all night thinking about these milliseconds that can be shaven, moving back over to what you were talking about, Alan, that's really interesting. And that makes sense. And I'll bet it takes a lot of thought to figure out. Yeah, if you've got a jillion products, how do you figure this out?
It's extraordinarily challenging, but you already are starting to see tremendous progress in this area. And Jim, this is something that when I saw you were on the panel, I was very eager to find out about that. What you're doing with Retail My Ride to try and create, my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong on it, trying to create closer to retail outcomes for consigners who traditionally get wholesale outcomes for their inventory, is to me just this step function in efficiency in the marketplace. Is that the core of your strategy?
Yeah, and then you got it. We kind of maybe label it a little bit differently. We always say we've got different types of sellers, right? There's a private seller and there's the institutional sellers, but both sets of sellers have the same motive, which is to get that extra bump or gain on the retail side versus the wholesale or instant cash offers and things like that. As I'm listening to you guys, I don't have, as a dealer, I don't do a lot of transporting, but on the Retail My Ride side, it's one of the key benefits. Maybe not good if you're a transporter or a broker, some of you guys, but the key benefit of the retail consignment is that the transport to the dealer is usually taken care of, because if we match up and source a private seller to a dealer that's doing consignment on our platform, that private seller, we're getting an appointment to have that private seller bring it to the dealer. And if they're doing institutional sellers through our remarketing partners that we have, eCars actually pays and does the transport. So from a pure dealer cost standpoint, there's still some logistics there to obviously get the car to the dealer. But it's more local, and it's far more, and it's already covered as an expense. So the dealer on our platform don't have to worry about transport for the most part. But I never thought about, I mean, I was very intrigued now by the conversation about what you said about the 8 cars. That's I'm not large enough from an affordable auto brokers. You know, my operation is not that big where I bought 8 cars at one time. But now with the new world of digital auctions and online auctions, that's an interesting dynamic you've kind of brought to the table.
We're as an industry, we're continually innovating to try and solve what I believe to be a very fundamental problem. And that fundamental problem is that cars get too far away from the right driveway.
Yeah.
And the further they get away from the right driveway, the less valuable they're perceived to be. It's it's the Ford F-350 showing up at the Jaguar dealership, and nobody's going to value that truck properly because it's in the wrong place. And transportation is a very important component of that, because if you can make that more efficient, then it makes it easier for every unit to optimize its value for whoever's trying to move it, because getting it to the right place becomes less challenging and less cost prohibitive. That to me is a fundamental thing that we'll continue to try and solve. Long after I hang them up, I think we'll still be trying to iterate on that and get better and better at it.
So I'm curious, Jay, maybe you come across this, or if it's out there amongst us, but I mean, the overall picture you talked about for this podcast was, how long does it take to get to retail ready? And it'd be interesting to know what percentage or what number of days the transport part takes up, but also the traditional brick and mortar auctions versus the digital you talked about. What is the average there, regardless of whether it's 8 cars or 1 car, 5 cars in a given purchase or acquisition? But what is the average time, and is that getting better or worse out there?
That's actually part of the premise of I don't know if it's getting better or worse.
Right.
It seems hard to get that global answer.
Yeah.
Maybe this would be something that David might want to talk about, and also David, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Hey, great to be here. Nice to meet you all. My name is David Ray, information technology consultant. I've been working in logistics and supply chain, building business apps for probably the last 5 or 6 years. I started at Vroom in 2019, and then I branched out, built an app for a carrier, and I've been working with a few brokers in our space. This topic is interesting to me because I think there's one thing that I took away from my time at Vroom, which was that time to list, right? So there's the time that we actually purchase the vehicle, and there's all these factors we have to account for, which are, how long is it going to take it to get picked up? What's the expense associated with that trip? And then how long is it going to take to go through reconditioning? And Vroom was a fairly large, company at the time, raised lots of money. And when you see all of these different moving pieces, we realize there's just, the only thing that matters is the time to list, because each day that goes on, that car is depreciating in value. And so there were a lot of sophisticated algorithms that we were building, and algorithms that talk to other algorithms to help us figure out, okay, what's the trade-off? If we increase our shipping expense, will we list the vehicle sooner? And I think that's kind of what we're talking about. And where it's really difficult is, I think, depending on who you're working with, some people might not even be aware of that metric, right? That might be something that's just, I just want to lower my shipping costs, so I'm going to go with the cheapest freight. But they don't know on the back end, it's going to add an extra week or an extra, 10 days to get that vehicle listed. So, it's a complex problem. It's a lot of fun trying to solve it. Still, a lot of work to be done, but yeah, sorry, that's my quick intro.
I figured out, Jay,
Yeah.
that I can't hear the sound effects when we're in this forum, and I didn't learn that until I went back and watched my last appearance. So I'm just going to say I hope you hit the massive applause button for what David just said, because it's
Yeah.
it is such a challenge in our industry that we step over dollars to pick up dimes over
Yep.
and over and over again and don't realize that we're doing it.
No doubt.
David, I had some thoughts about, hopefully some of that AI knowledge continues to go on, and given, the changes in Vroom itself, and what Vroom is doing, but that's not what I wanted to focus on. Let's add another level. And this is where Keith and I had this phone call. He's not here right now. So, that he can watch later and answer this and type it in the live chat or the comments below. Let's add merchandising. Can you properly merchandise a vehicle and try to sell it while it's even on its way from the auction to the dealership to be reconditioned? If it's heavily used, yeah, Alan, you're going to know. If it's heavily used, can you still merchandise it properly? Can you use AI? What do you do?
Well, the first step is you need to build an expectation on the part of your end consumer, whether it is a consumer or a dealer partner or whoever it is that lives downstream from you, that your product is going to be consistently delivered the way that they expect. If you establish that, then you can start to offer what you would call a work in progress, because there's clarity on what it's going to be when it's done. What that doesn't escape is the time factor and being able to account for the cycle time of reconditioning and getting that thing to market or to list as quickly as you can. So even if you've got confidence in what the finished product is going to be, that finished product needs to come as quickly and as optimally as it can.
So, the answer is going to be yes, but how long will it take us to use AI to just ask? I'm assuming there's some AI in that Amazon warehouse that'll help figure out which products to put in some similarity.
For us, it starts at a more logical place. I'll give you an example. We have a partner that has an embedded parts facility in our factory. So our techs are able to shake the car down, figure out what it needs, and then go over, and we have like these bins where we put all the parts and they grab their thing and they go back and they start fixing the car. When the hammer falls, we should start to have an understanding of what parts that car is going to need. It's still on the carrier on its way to us, but we should already be alerting our partner, we're going to need 2 tires, and we are going to need a set of front brakes, and we're going to need other parts in order to repair this car, so that when it arrives, we reduce our parts hold time because we already ordered the parts. We already anticipated. The next step from that is now starting to analyze every single Honda Accord we've ever reconditioned and every Chevy Tahoe that we've ever reconditioned, and say, every time we buy one of these cars, it needs this part, this part, this part. It didn't show up on the condition report on the CR, but history tells us that we're probably going to need to replace these things too, based on the age and the miles and all of this stuff. This is the stuff that David and Vroom, I think, they threw a lot more people and dollars at the problem and started to figure it out. We're kind of, chipping our way through it and getting there. But those are the things that will start to guide and create efficiency, and saving a half a day here, a day and a half there, starts to, at scale, be really meaningful.
Yeah, just to build on top of that, I think sometimes prior to the parts even arriving or knowing a vehicle is in transport, you have staffing costs where your teams are there at Recon trying to figure out, okay, is this vehicle going to be here today? And I think Victor said this earlier in the show, but trying to keep your customers informed, that's another opportunity. Not only external customers, but internal. So if you have recon staff and other people that need to know this vehicle is going to be late, so we don't need to staff these groups for today, but they can come tomorrow, they can come 4 hours later. All these different efficiencies start to add up. And I think that's where you're going to see AI and a lot of these, emerging technologies play a huge role. However, I would say that I think the data, access to the data, so Alan, in your example, I don't know how much data you have access to for all of the Honda Accords, but that's going to play an important role in having access to that information for AI to figure out, okay, am I having a sample size of 100? Is it 1,000? Is it a million? And that's going to help, businesses be better. But I think that's where, unfortunately, AI is going to be very localized, meaning that it only works within the data set that you have. Your data set is small, you'll get a minor benefit, in my opinion. But if you have large data sets or access to large data sets, you'll be able to benefit tremendously from those types of technologies.
Yeah.
I think if we're trying to really get into the minutia here, and just I'm listening to all of this through my lens and my filter. I was talking to David before the show a few days ago, and one of the things we were talking about is how important data is, and to that end, if the data was being stored on transportation times, right? And so you could look at it, you could say from like this zip code or around this zip code to this zip code, this is the average time it takes to get transported there. And then from there, you could actually break it down into further. If I go with this company, this seems to be how quick they get it loaded, or how quick then it's transported. So that's just in this whole conversation, thinking about trying to shave time and stuff like that. That's where I see on the transport side. Now, I don't have that data, and that would be a lot to store. But then if other people were committed to recording that and everybody could pull that data, it could be uploaded to like one, data bank. Then somebody with, the skill set that David has can start to like get in there and utilize it and put meaning to it.
Okay, David, who has the data?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I think the scary thing is going to be, unfortunately, a lot of this data is captured on a platform. It really all originates from volume, right? So where are these loads being posted? Where are these loads being picked up and fulfilled? And whichever platform owns that has the best opportunity to solve that problem. It's kind of twofold in my opinion, because there's we have the incumbent in our industry, and then we have a lot of new players that are coming in and building networks and platforms and marketplaces to try and solve this. Is their data going to be more effective? I don't know. We'll see. That's a strategy question for the new technology platforms coming into the industry, but it's going to be interesting to see. It's a race for data for sure.
I can tell you that if you were trying to pull the data from central dispatch, it's not going to be accurate, because I'll have a vehicle delivered and then a week and a half later, I get an email from central dispatch saying carrier has marked it delivered. So if a carrier tells me, if I call them for an update and they say like, no, it's picked up, I marked it on central dispatch, that's fantastic, and I really appreciate it. However, that means nothing to me, because I don't pay attention to it, because it's not correct.
Garbage in, garbage out. You just gave a great reason why they should have a mobile app. So it's not wow. Sue was just asking me last Thursday, why does Central need a mobile app? Because I said, it's interesting they don't have a mobile app. I mean, I don't really care. I just find it interesting they don't. Well,
simple. 97% of transporters are small fleet operators. So that means the vast majority of them are flying around in a truck and don't have time to fire up a laptop and do stuff. Right. So that means 97% of people don't need it to run a business.
Yeah, I think that's a big misunderstanding on the technology side, where I see, like you said, there's 97% of the transporters are small business owners or small fleets. I think the number Skip gave us was what was it, Jay? Like 88% are less than 4 trucks,
Yeah, it was
or
something like
something along those lines.
yeah.
Something like
So
that.
there's
Not non-fleets like less than 10. So yeah, 88% for less than 4 is probably more accurate.
Yeah, so if you're I interviewed probably 40 or 50 of these guys in the last like 2 years. And one thing I learned is they have 8 apps on their phone. So there's no loyalty to an app. It's loyalty to where's the work.
Mhm.
And I think when you look at it from that perspective, another app doesn't really make a difference. It's just is there volume? Are there order? Can I find loads on this app? So they're gonna switch, and the thing that's not talked about a lot, in my opinion, is that it's the same drivers on all of these apps. So I think, Victor, you mentioned this earlier about
Man,
customer
it's
experience
big.
and a lot of these things where it's the same driver. So your customer experience and those updates and those, check-ins, all of that, it's going to be wildly inconsistent because the same guy who might or same person who might not respond on one app, it's just because they're using another app more of the time. So it's really misleading. And technology, while it has a lot of benefits, I think one of the things people need to understand is that another marketplace isn't the answer. It's not exactly helping shippers and brokers and carriers figure out where's the load. It's really just more about consistency and experience. So the better we can do, the more technology can play a role in helping create consistent experiences, I think the better off the industry will be.
On average, our clients, I think we send about 5 or 6 certificates on average to the brokers for each of our clients. And these are all small fleet guys, 1, 2 units. So if you think about the fact they're doing business with 5 or 6 brokers on a regular basis, that's exactly what you're talking about. There's no loyalty. It's like, hey, where can I find a load going in the right direction for the right price? That's all. That's what they're looking for.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
I come back to the understanding of a dealership by the car shopper, car buyer, has gone up dramatically. The dealership process, the car buying process, details about the vehicle. But what a shipper doesn't know about the logistics process is still pretty low. And I wonder what will happen when the shipper begins to understand how these factors connect and have an effect on their shipments. What will they do different? And how will they learn this?
How are they going to get there?
I don't know.
How is the shipper ever going to understand? I mean,
How did they get to where they are now with car buying?
This is something that Keith and I talked about. I had a conversation with Keith about a week and a half ago. To me, the onus is on brokers and carriers. Like, if you're not educating your clients and you're not providing some sort of value add other than, hey, I'll move these cars, but then, what else can you provide? And I think that's the kind of education that the market needs, and that will help build trust with your customers. So you're like, okay, well, I can work with broker A who just moves the cars, or I can work with broker B who actually provides me some sort of analytics or helps me understand why things are the way they are. And that's why I really wish Keith was here tonight, because I think he has a lot to add to this conversation.
I know. And
But
Sky,
David-
too. We're missing Sky and Keith.
David,
And
that-
Skip. Skip was invited, too. He couldn't make it. Sorry, Victor.
Oh,
David, that's the like you just described the ideal customer, right? The ideal client, somebody who actually wants to know. And unfortunately, they're few and far between. Most people don't want to listen. They're like, "What's the price?" And it's
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
well, let me explain a little bit of what goes into the price. And what's the price? So,
Yep.
what we're missing, and I mean, I don't want to get into like a larger discussion about, society and stuff, is willing participants, people that want to be an active participant in the process, because that's what group is in my company's name. because it takes the carrier, it takes the dispatcher, it takes the end client, the shipper. It takes everybody to create a group that's going to come to successful results. So if you ever need to ship your car, let me know. I'd love to ship for you.
I think, Jay, it was easier in retail because, and this gets right to Victor's point, consumers from the very start very, very, very much wanted transparency in the process. They were looking for it. They really wanted to understand it. And it wasn't until the marketplace started creating those transparent platforms and it became kind of the table stakes. You had to be transparent, that things started to accelerate. I started in a dealership, and I always tell the story of the first time that I got a phone up and a guy wanted to get a price on a car over the phone. And I went over to the tower and I asked the sales manager, what he could buy the car for. And he looked down his glasses at me like this. And he said, "We don't give out prices over the phone. That's just not the way that we sell cars." We're in a reality now where you can't get away with that as a dealer, call for price and come down and see us and all of that stuff. And what I'm hearing you saying, Victor, is that you almost wish that all of the stakeholders were seeking that same level of transparency because you're ready to provide it and supply it. And if everybody wanted it and valued it, it would make a huge difference. Like, think about it this way, guys. In mortgages, if you buy a house and you're sitting down and you're looking at the whole estimate of your closing costs and everything, you see a thing called an origination fee. And you go, "Well, what's that?" And they go, "Well, that's the money that I get in exchange for arranging your mortgage for you." And we all look at that number and we go, "That seems fair. Okay, thanks, I appreciate it." That is exactly the same thing in a dealership that happens when a dealer holds a point or a point and a half. That's essentially the fee that they're taking, the commission they're taking for arranging the financing. Right. But what do we do in our industry? We move around and we don't talk about it. We don't. If we just sat down with customers and said, "I'm arranging your financing, and that's what I get paid for," that level of transparency might change consumers' perception. Anyway, I don't want to get up on the soapbox about that. But this is where we really need to go, and I'd love to see it in this industry too.
And I'll echo Victor, because I never was a broker or transporter on this side of the equation with auto hauling, but I was a LTL freight broker, and I was area exec for Yellow Roadway for a lot of years. And same thing, you get your rates plugged into a TMS, and whoever had the cheapest thing moved it until you start breaking it enough. Then they started caring about what the price was. And and I think you're going to see that a lot here too. We were just talking about at the conference last week, saying, hey, we're at a back to basic quality conversation with one of the OEMs, like, hey, we're seeing a bunch of poor loading practices. Well, yeah, if you keep buying the cheapest carrier, welcome to reality. This is going to happen. So, I think to the point, it's honestly executing on fundamentals is one of the greatest things you can do. I mean, as a motor carrier, as a broker, I can't say so much, but as a motor carrier, it's one of the best things you can do, because not everyone's going to do that. Trucking is a complicated business, a lot of moving parts, and just being able to execute consistently on delivering a service is a challenge by itself. So if you can do that, like that's your edge a lot of times. You don't necessarily need to have the newest whiz-bang thing. If you can do exactly what you're going to say pretty darn consistently, you're going to excel.
I wrote down, you can't just swipe left or right in car shipping.
That's perfect.
Some great stuff. I don't want to hold anybody too long, but that was some great stuff, and it shows that, man, we are missing Skip, Keith, and Sky. So I see. I commonly say round 2 will come back to. But it does come back around. Clearly, I owe some jackets.
Well, they're definitely not getting jackets. So that's all agreed as a group.
You just jumped in line on their jacket receivership.
That's right.
That's right.
Maybe Alan gets the gold one. They get like a bronze one or something like that.
I'm telling you. I've got some gold jacket contenders here. That's for sure. And David, everyone keeps talking to David. David, you're staying pretty busy. You do a lot of research.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, so for one of the clients that I work with, just one is general curiosity and just trying to understand what are other people doing and how are they doing it. But then two, it's just, building relationships. Like Keith and I had a meeting scheduled that was only supposed to be for 20, 30 minutes. We talked for 2 hours. Same with Victor. It's like just cool to meet everyone in the industry and learn what everyone's doing and, see how we can help each other and move this thing forward. I think it's, there's a lot of opportunities for folks like us to come on here and talk about and share our ideas. And so, yeah, for me, just networking is a huge thing. And yeah, that's why we're all here.
Well, there's no doubt that, and that's why, like, I've had many meaningful takeaways from the various shows that we've done together, and tonight is no exception. So, does anybody have any final thoughts they want to add? I know there's a lot we can talk about, and there's a lot, many things were said. Anything a note that was missed, a bookmark that is still there?
I think we need round two. I think that's
round two.
what I'd say.
What would it be called? What's it called?
No, bro, you're Mr. ATI. I mean, come on.
Okay. I'll take it. All right. I'll work on it. Well, then, I want to thank you. It was a long weekend. Hopefully, it was... What? Anybody want to sum up this weekend? Memorial Day weekend is an interesting weekend. Am I right about that? It marks the entrance of summer.
Yep.
It marks this military America freedom reminder. It adds an extra day that, there's some holidays are, I don't know. This is an interesting one. And so, I will say, shout out to, gosh, I don't even know who to give a shout out to. But I will give it. All right.
Now, someone will hear it.
Exactly.
The shout has been given.
The shout has been
the best
given.
outro I've ever heard. That was
awesome.
I love that. That was. I don't know who to give a shout out to, but it's given. I mean,
that was awesome. Yeah.
that's Kansas City right there.
There it is. Exactly. That's it. It's how it's done. So thank you, gentlemen. Mike, thanks very much for that recap. Jim, Alan, Victor, David, thanks so much for taking the time tonight.
Guys.
We'll see you on the next one. All right. And that's a cut. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. I want to thank everybody in the live chat that watches on demand. Thank you very much. One Auction View, Murphy Auto Transport, Superflow Systems, AuctionVCommerce, and again, all of my guests tonight. Mike Weber is with Hylant Insurance. And then we had Jim Horan, Retail My Ride. Alain Nana-Sinkam is the COO of AIM. Go to AIMRecon.com. Victor is with Beverly Logistics Group. And David is a independent tech consultant. If you need help getting a hold of any of them, please let me know. Again, thanks for watching on demand and live and on YouTube and LinkedIn. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. Be sure to join us on Thursday. What we're going to do is on Industry Logistics at noon, we're going to be live and we're going to continue our talk about, I saw the connection here. We're talking about Central Dispatch, Super Dispatch, mobile app, and data. When we look at the load boards, what are the top load boards? What load boards did we forget to talk about? And the technologies, it's more than just loads. It's data. It's information. And we know that as AI continues to grow, it's going to pull the data that it's there. There'll be preferential data and more. So let's keep talking about it. Please join us on Thursday. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Misty. Thank you so much. Please leave a like for that panel. Great panel. Very excited to have them. Excited to see you in the live chat. Anybody that is a new viewer or listener or a friend of is welcome at ATI, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.